Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still with you on this edition of Cairo Local Time. And of course, we're joined this afternoon by my guest in the studio, D.Marian, Jurgis, an ophthalmologist as well as a writer, who will be telling us a lot more about women empowerment and the rights of women here in Egypt. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Doctor, now women over the past few years have made some progress with regards to getting more rights and getting recognized. But what still needs to be done in order to give women empowerment, not just in social spheres or political spheres, but also economically as well?
In my humble opinion, I think they just need to be more active, to share more political views. They don't have to be public figures. They don't have to be on the political theater. At least they have to share their opinions, even if in their normal fields.
But doctor, at the end of the day, women are very verbal and they do want to share, but they need to be empowered from a young age. I mean, here, for example, when it comes to if you have lots of children and educating your children, some families would rather educate the male children and say, no, female children can sit at home. At the end of the day, she'll probably just get married. And you know what? So what needs to be done in order to start a culture of women empowerment?
We just need to stop listening to the society. We just
How do we change the society's thinking?
The society will be changed automatically when we change ourselves, when we be more active, when we suppose ourselves or on the society itself.
Doctor, now gender equality is a major indication for developed countries and developing countries. What do you think needs to be done in order to achieve more gender equality, in order to empower women?
We just need more awareness, more programs talking about this, especially on the social media and the media. We need to make the females urged to be more active in all their fields.
So, doctor, discrimination towards women is also another problem. If women are well educated and eventually they get a good job, etc., you find discrimination against them in the working place. What can be done to stop such forms of discrimination against women?
I think laws are getting towards this point. Also, I think that females themselves can change this when they impose themselves on the society and they impose their ideas and the society see their activities. I think that will be changed automatically. We don't have to address this directly.
Do you think that legislation and laws are sufficient in order to protect women against issues like discrimination?
At least the bundle of laws that are present now, they are fine. But even though, we are on the way, we are on the right track to make more laws that giving more chances to females.
Do you see political empowerment for women as a necessary step?
Yes, of course.
How?
Of course. Politics, I think now we can see many public figures on the political theater, and you can see even in the ministries, and they are doing a very great progress more than the male. Especially the female is aware of many things, aware of many points that male cannot be aware of, especially in the investment, in the housing, in many, I think in many ministries.
Right. Let's talk a bit about the World Youth Forum that was recently held in Sharm el-Sheikh. You told me that you attended the forum and you were a participant. Tell me a bit about your experience.
I had the honor to participate in the World Youth Forum. It was a very great thing to be held in Egypt. And actually, I saw many examples of successful women there, especially the Lamia Bashar. She was an example of a very strong lady that taught us a lesson I think we would have never learned about except when seeing her there. Also, there were many sessions about females, especially the main session about the female. Especially, I can remember the words of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ensuring about the role of the female in June 30 revolution. And how he was putting and emphasizing about the ethics of how to treat a female in the first place.
So do you see more awareness and a push for more awareness for the rights of women in Egypt? What was the most inspirational story you heard at the World Youth
Of course,
Forum?
Lamia Bashar.
Could you tell us a bit more about her story?
Yes, Lamia Bashar was a victim. She is a Kurdish lady from Iraq, and she was a victim from ISIS troops. She was sold 5 times as she was speaking that, and then she didn't play the victim role at all, and she didn't live the state of a victim, but she decided to talk all over the world about her experience.
Do you think she's come out as stronger
Yes.
by not taking the victim role?
Yes, of course.
Doctor, let me ask you, sexual harassment is another big issue that women suffer from in Egypt. How do you think we can fight sexual harassment? We can fight inappropriate language, signs, actions, whether it's in the streets or in public areas or even in your workplace?
I think laws will not solve this only, but just rising up with the common taste, rising up with the common awareness and the ethics, the common ethics, how to talk to the street, how to talk to the people, and how to make the awareness more effective in their minds. But laws will not solve it all.
You don't think if, for example, someone sexually harassed someone and was put in prison, that that would be a good example for other perpetrators of this behavior?
Of course, this is the basic thing that you can, the basic intervention that you can do.
But even the basic intervention doesn't necessarily happen.
Yes, sometimes.
So do you think the youth in Egypt have a big role to play, since you were a participant at the World Youth Forum in Sharm el-Sheikh? What is the role of the youth, both male and female, in empowering women? Because a lot of males also have a big role to play in this issue.
Yes, of course. At least they have to encourage them to be active on the political theater, to be present on the political theater, to share even in the elections. Especially, we are very near to the presidential elections, and I want them to go and to give their voices, no matter whom they will elect, but at least to do their national duty. So I need all the population, all the males, to encourage women, girls from the village, from the city, to just give their voice, to do their national duty.
Do you think economic empowerment is also important to achieve other issues like social empowerment and political empowerment?
Yes.
When a woman is employed, or when she has a source of income, or when she has a small medium enterprise or a small medium business that she runs, how important is economic empowerment, especially in nowadays?
Is important in everything, not only for women. It's important for the country, for itself. But I think for economy, we are going on the right steps, and we are trying to solve it. We are trying to make a new skeleton for the economy.
Did you see at the World Youth Forum examples of women entrepreneurs or successful project owners, people that shared their stories, women?
Yes, of course, there were many women decision makers and project makers. Especially, we are holding on the next week, this 7 to 9, the Business for Africa, the COMISA Conference 2017, and this is specially made for this, for the economic empowerment for all the countries of Africa.
Right. Would you believe that until today, some young Egyptian girls are fighting for their right to an education? In this day and age, 2000 and...
Well, I don't think this is present in the city. I think it's more present in Upper Egypt and in the villages. And still, I can say how to talk to the people in the street. And this is the role of our religious parties and the political parties.
Do you think enough is being done to educate remote areas? As you said, maybe this isn't prevalent in the cities, but maybe in Upper Egypt or in more low-income governorates in Egypt. Do you think enough outreach is happening to these areas in the country?
Of course, the periphery is suffering. Of course, this is, but I think this is in the plan.
How about examples of successful women or empowered women? Could you give us a few of those examples?
Of course, we cannot forget Minister Sahar Nasr, and also Dr. Ghada Wali.
But these are ministers. Let's talk about, I mean, these are the highest you'll reach, I suppose, when it comes to women, political women empowerment. Let's talk about on a societal level. Who would you say are good role models for women to try and follow? Who would you
there are lots. I don't want to give them names, but I see lots of public figures, lots of women that are really successful in their places.
Right. Now let's talk a bit about the role that men have when it comes to the issue of women empowerment. Some men, thankfully, are very supportive to their spouses or to their moms or daughters or sisters, and they do assist and they do help and they give them that platform to excel, whilst others don't see that maybe their wives or their daughters have a very major role to play. How important do you think the role of men is?
At least if they will not give them the enough support, at least they'll not be defensive or taking a defensive mechanism against the woman who is very active and she has a dream, she has something to do. So I see this defensive mechanism is very, very dangerous to the issue we're talking about.
Do you see just that it's a defensive attitude, or do some men go out of their way to prevent women from reaching success?
Yes, of course.
What do you think is the reason behind this kind of attitude?
Maybe he thinks that they are both in a competitive ways, and when she is successful more than him, that will make him weaker. And I think the male always wants to be stronger than the female, more competent than the female.
Let's talk a bit about the legislation and the law. The Egyptian parliament has passed several legislations when it comes to women empowerment, when it comes to women's rights. Family court and family laws have been passed, and some of them are very beneficial for protecting the rights of women. Could you tell us a bit more, shed more light about some of the recent legislations that have helped empower women?
Of course, we are still in the very beginning of this, but I think we will need more and more laws that make the woman more free, like she can travel without the acceptance of her husband.
Permission.
Yes, permission. And she can have the right to do many things considering the relation between her in the marriage and etc.
How about the issues of children? Because again, women and children are both not well represented and not empowered, because children as well, some of their rights are not achieved. How important is it when you deal with children's rights?
Of course, this is an issue that will need more effort from the government and more effort from the parliament. That needs to make the woman and the female more accessible to have more rights towards their children.
Right. Dr.Marian, we'll go to a short break and we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة. القاهرة القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة وحبيبي أنا ده منين ما يروح بيكون جنبي.
هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة.
عيني على أهل كايرو لبطبنها من يسايرو الكل عامل مثالي ونسلم في بعض عاير.
هنا القاهرة الساحرة الآسرة الهادرة الساهرة السافرة السافرة.
لك حبيبي يحبك وتحب تهديه بهدية هاتوا مصر الحليوة يقول لك دي صحيح هي أم الدنيا.
هنا القاهرة.
القاهرة ونيلها وكلنا وأغانينا ومواويلها وحكاويها يا جمالنا. القاهرة تجيلنا تحن لنا. My heart belongs to Cairo, oh, Cairo, where I have found my smile.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still with you on this afternoon's edition of Cairo Local Time, and still joined by my guest, Dr.ماريان Gerges, the ophthalmologist and the writer. Thank you again, Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you.
So we are discussing, of course, women's rights and women empowerment in Egypt. And during the break, we spoke about human rights organizations and sometimes their perception. Could you tell us a bit more regarding the role that human rights organizations play?
In the recent period, I don't see that the human rights organization reports were that accurate. They just gave opinions and gave their views considering Egypt, but I didn't see them that accurate. They are giving their opinions while they are not on the ground. Maybe depending on any reports that reach them, but they have to be on the ground. They have to be on the live to see things live. Plus, I can see that they missed the first important part in human rights, which is fighting terrorism. And that the basic need, how can we achieve human rights without fighting terrorism? How can we achieve human rights and a stable life for every person without having a safe life? So I recommend, and I can tell them that they have to be on the ground with us.
To see.
Yes.
Do you see enough non-governmental organizations or human rights organizations playing a positive role in women empowerment in Egypt? Do you see enough is being done on that?
Yes, of course, and we need more.
What is the most prominent that comes to mind in your opinion?
The movements.
Do you think that women are doing enough for themselves? Do you think that women are reaching out to the right people to assist them? Can women reach out to women to help each other?
Yes, I think they are fine. They are doing fine, but no problem with them. With more, with giving more, with talking more, with doing more activities.
Do you think that what is the most important kind of empowerment in your opinion? Is it economic or social or political or legal?
Social.
Why social?
Because the society is the thing that builds the opinion, the common opinion of the people.
So what needs to be done in order to change the common opinion of the people, in order to allow women to be more socially empowered?
Especially the common taste and the ethics, as we said in the beginning of our interview. They need to make organization. They need to go to the street to talk to the people, to make more conferences. Just anything, any interventions to get to the mind of the youth.
Let's talk about an early age intervention. Do you think more can be done at our schools, from primary school, the way that children are being educated not to start the divisions or the inequality between the genders from the classroom?
Yes, it's much easier, of course, at an early age to talk to the child, to build the infrastructure, the psychological infrastructure of the child at an early age. So I think it's much easier, which makes things easier and more realistic. So when they talk to the children, when they build their infrastructure, their psychological infrastructure, they have to address the ethics, they have to address the religious view, they have to address their views and their ideas about everything around them, not only about education.
Do you think, as you mentioned, the religious view or the religious discourse
Yes.
Has played a role or has been abused in some instances to disempower women?
Yes, sure, of course.
How it's so, in your opinion?
It was abused because many concepts, and now sorrowfully many people and many many political events that made the religion just as a tool we can use to make discrimination, to reach our own goals. So for this, I told you that we need to build them religiously, to build the infrastructure, the religious infrastructure of them in a healthy way. not when they just grown up and become youth and adults. So they misuse this concept.
Do you think more monitoring needs to be implemented, or monitoring groups? How can we monitor, as you say, things like religious discourse or the way that it is abused in order to disempower women?
I don't think monitoring will solve it all. I think it's
What solutions would you suggest or
I
propagate?
think discussions, healthy way of discussions, and of course how to make the mind of the child accept the healthy ideas, not the unhealthy one.
As a participant at the World Youth Forum in Sharm el-Sheikh recently, you said President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi constantly mentioned women and the role that women
Yes.
played, whether it was during the revolution or during the elections or during the political transition in Egypt. And he often directed the public opinion and shed light on the importance of women in society. How important do you think it is if it starts from a presidential level?
Yes.
Do you think it will filter down to other institutions in society?
Of course, of course. Any word, any small word, any small speech coming from the head of the country, of course it will reach easily, and it will reach to the periphery, and it will reach to every corner in your country. So when he addressed the role of how the woman, how the Egyptian lady was very supportive, was very strong in June 30 revolution, of course that will give a push to the presidential elections and their share in the presidential elections in 2018.
Do you think that there is sufficient representation of women in political parties in Egypt as well as the Egyptian parliament?
Oh, we need more.
We need
We
more.
need more, of course.
How influential is their presence? Do they have a leading role?
Of course, they have leading roles, but they are few.
Do you think quotas should be imposed? For example, a quota that 15% of this party or 25% of this institute should be women. Do you think quotas is a solution?
Numbers cannot tell much, but their effect, their influence.
So you think quotas are acceptable? Like during the Egyptian parliament elections, some parties had quotas. They'd say
Yes.
40% of the members would be women. Do you think that that is an effective
I
way?
don't think numbers will tell anything.
So it's just their
Yes,
influence.
yes, the influence and the effect.
Indeed. So to all our women viewers that are watching us, what message do you have for women to assist themselves and empower themselves in society?
I just need them to be more active and to never hear to any defensive, any offensive words coming considering their political chair or the criticism they can have during their political chair. And I need them in the elections, the upcoming elections of 2018, to go and elect. I need them to share, to let us hear their voices.
To exercise their political rights.
Yes, even if they are not on the political theater at all.
Indeed. Right. Dr.ماريان Gerges, ophthalmologist and writer, and our guest for this afternoon. I'd like to thank you very much
Thank you.
for coming in this afternoon and for all your insight.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much,
Thank
Doctor.
you.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up today's edition of Cairo Local Time. We do hope you have enjoyed it, where we discussed women empowerment here in Egypt. And do join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Cairo Local Time for another edition with a different crew. Till then, my name is Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.